but it's for a collaborative book
Ooh,
called Embracing Imperfections.
love it.
Yeah, and I'm in volume 3.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a live event, and I actually am gonna be one of the speakers.
So tell me again. So it's what's the name of the book?
Oh,
It's
the book is called, I don't have one right now, but it's called Embracing Imperfections.
and you're
I
part of it. And what is your role in it? What are you discussing?
basically it's 20 plus women co-authored a book encouraging other women to embrace their imperfections through storytelling.
Mm.
And it's just so heartwarming because I didn't know that there were people like you who actually care about other women and want to support and uplift and want the best for another woman. I didn't know there was other people like that. I thought you always have to be, but that's not true. That is not true. There are people out there who want the best for you, like myself and
Like
Miss
yourself.
Paris. And
Mm-hmm.
there are people who want to do that through storytelling and impactful storytelling. So it's a lot of different women from all over the world. Even this woman named Dr. Grace from
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be one of those things that I've always wanted to do. I want to go on to do more anthologies and more co-author other projects. But this is my first one, and I'm glad that it was like it just happened during pandemic, and a lot of the things just happened during pandemic, and it's been like a whirlwind of a blast. Like, mm, you've met me when I didn't really have much and I didn't know how to attain it. And you took that, you saw someone like me and you said, you can do it, Maybe you just gotta take a deep breath and look at it from a different angle. And so like doing that and taking that deep breath has catapulted me into, I will show you.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, this lovely fellow here.
Oh, you made that? Is that your
Yeah.
design? Oh,
Well,
I love it.
and it's
Tell me
just
about it.
representing
Mm.
even if you wear a pink shirt, even if you're a frog in a wheelchair, that's okay. Exceptionally you, that's the book that I I created because I needed an anthem to keep going when things got rough.
So do you have the book? Do you have a copy of
Yeah,
the book
this
that
is
we can show?
here.
Okay. So tell me, there we go.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Exceptionally You and what it represents to you. And then also if you could share with me your recent event that you kind of were featured in.
Oh yes.
Mhm.
So Exceptionally You was born out of frustration because I needed to have belief in myself. I need to have that inner notion of I can do what I want to do. I can do what I put my mind to. So the book basically says you can only be you. That's all you can do. And that statement kept me going because I'm only me. I love Hello Kitty. I love cooking. I love roller skating. I love reading. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, but because of what society says, it's hard to create the notion of it's okay to be you.
Mm.
But so I kept saying to myself, you can only be you. That's all you can do. And just trudged through all of that negativity and brought it into a book like this. I dedicated it to my youngest brother, Shakir, and this is the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
It says this book is for my brother Shakir whose bright smile and love of food taught me to never forget to shine my light each day. I This book was made in 2004, 2005, and I never did much with it because I was still struggling with my own uh, love of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when it actually came to fruition, it led me to a place like a different book list, which is downtown Toronto. This there they have a book there right as soon as you go in called Blackhurst
Mm.
instead of Bathurst, and it tells
Mm.
you about all the shops and spaces and places that were on that street that you may not know of. Like I remember going to this store when I was a kid, but when I was called to go there last weekend, I was there with a bunch of educators who happened to be Black women,
Mm-hmm.
all talking about the same things. This is what I've always wished for, to be able to have stories. Yes, it these are animals, but that's only because I wanted to have the notion of animals in my first book.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to show that the feeling before the people. So my feeling of being exceptionally you is more of taking on that notion before you even think of what color you are.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't
It starts even before that piece of
it
your
starts
identity.
even before that because I know who I am and I know whose I am, but before I did not.
So can I ask, like with exceptionally you, where it says, all I can be, all you can do is be you. Does that relate in any way to masking? Like, with people, specifically folks on the spectrum, there's a lot of pressure to try and mask as neurotypical. So like only being you, that's all you can be. Like, can you kind of speak to how that connects to masking perhaps with our community?
Yes, that's exactly like that's a very good connection that you made because um putting on what another says you are is very easy to do. I saw a clip of someone who pointed a finger and calling someone Susan, Susan. No, her name's not Susan. You start to answer to Susan,
Mm.
but your name's not Susan. Your name's
Your
Natasha,
name ain't Susan. That's
right?
right. I love that.
Yeah, so I like had to rub and scrub away that notion of my name isn't Susan. I say Miss Natasha now because I know whose I am and I know who I am. So I'm Miss Natasha as opposed to saying Natasha. When I was a kid, I didn't even like my full name. I used to say Tasha. And
Mm.
most people would call me that and or Natalie. Like again, that wasn't my name, but I would answer to it
And why do you think that is?
because I didn't know whose I was and I didn't know who I was.
And how did you get there? Like, what can you talk a bit about your journey to starting to self-identify as your authentic self?
Mm-hmm. Um, Being quiet within yourself. So that's why meditation and quiet is very important. Being thoughtful and um always speaking to yourself nicely and kindly. They say when we comb our hair, regardless of how much naps there are, we're supposed to use a gentle baby like stroke. We're not supposed to be rough. We're always rough, but actually we're supposed to be as if we were combing a child's hair, that's how we're to comb our own. And I think I started to do that for myself. I also wanted to know who I had around me, what they were saying to me, and what I would say to them. To me was like it's called like taking inventory. didn't know that these things were called, but you're taking inventory of the space and places, the things you even think, the things you eat, smell, all of that, and re-evaluating if it's okay, if it's kosher for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it took me a good 10-15 years. And I tell you, when you ask for something and you say you're going to do something, you better to actually do it, because it's going to come to you and it's going to show, it's going to reveal itself, and you have to be ready to take ownership. Eric Thomas, the book that I'm reading now, You Owe You, I highly recommend it for anyone, especially youth. And I would say even anyone, but some young people who thought that life was over, and you start to play the victim. And actually, once you take ownership, everything will change. Once you
So,
start living authentically yourself.
so part of your authentic self is now a published writer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you, when I first met you, you had the book, but you weren't really in the process of promoting it, and you
Yeah.
hadn't stepped into your role as creator and as a writer. And I think that's like, I'm seeing the confidence in you just over the past year has like, it's transformative. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that's meant to step into your power as a writer, and also how you shared that with people. What was it like, sharing your experience and your work at the bookstore?
Mm-hmm. It was magical. It was um because I stepped into my own, I
Uh-huh.
got asked to prove it. I got asked to prove it, and that's why I wanted. But I was like, do I? Just waiting for the skip line to go. Am I gonna jump in? Am I gonna jump in? And because I decided to authentically be myself in the world, still working towards what I want to do on the back end, I think that's why I got chose to prove it. And proving it, I got blessed with seeing multiple um uh authors who are doing the darndest to make sure children of color and families of color have books that they can see and resonate with,
Mhm.
and stories that make actual sense. So me being this young woman, Yolanda, she she had made C is for Carnival, among other books. This young woman, Nadia, uh, like they just, I've watched them and I've seen them own their womanhood.
Mhm. So I'm wondering what takes the lead in your book. Is it your identity, your self-identification with being a Black woman? Is it your self-identification as being neurodiverse? Is it a collaborate? Like
So yeah, this
what
one,
takes the lead in this?
yeah, that's a great question. This one is the neurodiversity. This one is all of my differences, because until I understood that I am okay as I am,
Mhm.
none of the rest matters. No one cares if I'm a female, they still disrespect me. No one cares if I'm Black, they still disrespect me. No one cares if I have disabilities, they still disrespect me, even though I have IEP, even though I have paperwork, even though I need like a neon sign straight in my head saying woo woo woo. Maybe then they'll take it, but other than that, it's like I needed this to be my neon sign.
So can you talk a little bit about your education? Like, just so people know, it's not like you're just like, you know, sitting down writing a book with no experience, no education. Like, you've come from years of having to fight for space within the education system. And somehow, despite it all, you've managed to persevere. But can you just talk without getting too, we don't want to name names of, the
Yeah.
institutions you went to and stuff like that, but sort of what that journey was like for you and what you've come out of it with. Like, let's like big yourself up a bit with some of your degrees and some of the stuff that you've accomplished despite all of those barriers.
Yeah, that's so funny because I went looking for them last week.
Hmm.
And I seen that I did graduate high school, which was like a whirlwind. At the time, I did not have any diagnoses, and it was quite the experience. I went to high school in Rexdale,
Hmm.
and you gotta know how to be hard, and you gotta be hard all the time, and you can't be soft or else you'll be taken advantage of. So that's that one. I also went to George Brown for community service work, so I'm a community service worker. um that was difficult. I got some accommodations, but it wasn't like let me see. It was a learning experience because it was my first college experience.
Right.
So that was just that's probably gonna have to be deleted because I forgot what you said for me not to do. Okay, so
It's
I
okay.
have
We can just blank out. We can
I
blank out
have
the name.
I have a community service worker degree, and I also have an early childhood education degree, and I also have a digital studies digital education degree,
Hmm.
and I can teach online. I can make courses and teach it online.
Hmm.
I can also I oh and before I even go there, I also have life skills coaching.
Hmm.
I actually finished that in 2021.
I remember. Yeah.
So I have that as well. The I think I'm getting all flustered because all that being said, it's not taken seriously in these areas because I have disabilities. And I have to change that.
Right.
I feel like I have to change that. I'm not quite sure how, but I feel like I was supposed to do something. Having all the credentials and then having going to school, even having kids while going to school and being asked if I know how to change diapers in practicum, or being told that oh yeah, just watch the kids and do the tables and the beds all the time. You know, like stuff like that was really
So wait,
disheartening.
why did you feel that was disheartening?
Because they wouldn't do it to anybody else.
So you felt they didn't trust your ability to
No,
do more than the bare minimum,
no.
basically.
Even in my volunteering,
Mm.
within the 6 years that I was in college and university, the same sort of thing kept going on. That only one type of person can know how to do these things. If it's governance, if it's frontline, if it's the back end, only a one type of person is able to do this job. And it's the every recurring theme was not me.
If there was a change or changes that you could wave a magic wand and just make, you know, a staple across the board with all post-secondary or any kind of educational institution for people of of the neurodivergent community to make it more successful and more conducive and more inclusive. If you can think of a few changes that stand out to you that would have made your experience different that you'd like to see implemented, what would they be?
One would be mandatory PD days, and
Personal development days.
through spaces like yourself,
Hmm.
which will challenge the thought processes of the people who are doing this work. It will reconstruct that notion of you are not the end all be all. And maybe you need to change a bit of how you're doing things and the way you're thinking before you're given these roles. Number two, it would be if someone has had a complaint, they're allowed to bring someone like myself into the room to hear the conversation, if once the person who has the complaint
Mm-hmm.
say, I need a support to go into these spaces with me,
Mm.
they need to do that. Not someone that they pick, someone that is the person who's having the complaint picks.
So you're saying like a peer or someone who's from the community that you're from to help you express yourself to the neurotypical body of, complaints that you're trying to get across to.
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
Um
That's
the
a great
next
idea.
the next one is if the person is living unlike the rest, and they're if it's a home, if it's with their family, whatever it is, when they ask for something, it's not for you to allow them to have it. For instance,
Mm.
um a life skills coach. You as the caregiver, or you as the home's workers,
Hmm.
you shouldn't be able to say no, you can't have that.
Like what? Like I'm not clear. Give me an example.
Like you if I'm living in a home, or
Mm.
I'm living in somewhere and I have people caring for me or around me helping me navigate the world, they can't tell me that I cannot have a life skills coach or go see a therapist.
So more resources.
If the therapist that I'm seeing is too expensive and I only get covered a certain amount,
Mm.
I should be allowed to still spend my own money to
Hmm.
go and get these services
Hmm.
without like someone saying, "Oh, that's not something for you." When you didn't even like look into the fact if it is for me or not. You're just saying
Mm.
that because you think that that's what is good for me.
Hmm.
Like that. Do you kind of get that? Or
So people making decisions for you and making
yes,
assumptions about your ability to fund your own supports and things like
yes,
that.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, in regards to like the school and the work and the college, university, high school, the complaints that are coming out are real. They're not fiction. They're not fabricated. They're real, and take them seriously. You are destroying someone's soul by not taking them seriously.
What do you think the impacts are on individuals whose needs aren't met? Like, how do you think that kind of derails someone in their pursuit of their life goals?
They feel helpless, hopeless, degenerates. They feel like ingrates. They feel like less than. They feel like they'll accept more garbage from others because those things aren't really being met. They'll
Mm.
accept more bad behaviors from others. There's a
Mm.
slew of things, and a lot of the times it's not talked about. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Because
Mm.
who's really talking to you? No one. No one is talking to you. It's just you and your own brain. And if you're not regulating yourself, listening to podcasts that are positive, looking at things that are positive, going out there exercising, eating right, you'll just eat like trash. You won't move, and you'll end up with hurt or like internal whatevers. And then
Hmm.
you'll wither away.
Can you suggest some things like that you've noticed, like on an alternate note, that have worked, like things that have
Yeah.
helped and successful resources that have been put in place that have helped you?
Yes. When you see someone like me in front of you, don't negate or deny the people that you see. Take me as face value, assist me. So I say this like that, the positive like that, because the most positive thing that I came out of someone treating me like that is Miss Natasha, would you like me to give you a call for the appointment on Tuesday, or would you like a card? Um,
Mm.
I'd like a card, please. Well, thank you so much. And it's like I'm not a bother if I ask you to write it down on a card.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm not a bother. It the positive thing is just take me just like you would assist me like you would assist everyone else. I just like I do that. I do that, and it's like in uh in a setting where something may go wrong, like TTC, via rail, go transit. If I'm working there and you know that I'm unlike the others, just be like treat me like a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to snicker and bicker behind my back. Just treat me like a regular person, and it will be fine. So in certain workspaces I've worked at, it was so wonderful because they treated me like a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they found out more about differences and exceptionalities than they ever had because they were so open. And so I don't know, I'm going further away from your question, but I'm also like trying to pick at it so I can get an example and an answer.
Well, no, I think you're giving me a good, like, it's general in that treat me as an individual, right? And individuals have individual needs. So see me as the person in front of you. If I need you to write something on a card versus just, like telling me the date and expecting me to put it in my phone, don't roll your eyes. Don't give me a hard time. Don't make me feel guilty for asking for that small accommodation. Like, am I,
Right.
yeah, be open to accommodating because everybody has different needs, I guess is what you're saying.
The thing is that we can say that and then afterward when they'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like say we're standing in a line, 5 people, and then when I come, it's a totally different story.
Mm,
And I don't understand it. I really don't, because I was just standing there waiting for my turn.
mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, if you go to the city in the mornings or you call the city in the mornings, some people are pleasant.
The city of Toronto, you mean?
Well, just the city in, like, I'm not in the city of Toronto, but
Oh,
like
okay,
the
like
city services.
right, gotcha.
Some people are pleasant, some are not. I try my darndest to call before 12,
Mm-hmm.
wherever it is, the banks, wherever. Speaking of which, I do not go to the banks because I'm deathly, horribly traumatized.
Why is that?
Because I've gotten disrespected after disrespected in the banking system in person more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thoroughly like one of those people that will not go to the bank. Will
What do you
not.
mean? Like, what happens?
The eye rolls, the
Mm-hmm.
well, we can't help you. Oh, for instance, I know that when you have a long-standing credit card, that you're not to close it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in school, I was making sure that I had my school card. When I was done, I'm going to transfer it to something else so then I can be able to grow my credit. This person did not listen to what I was saying, thought that they knew whatever it is that they thought they knew, and closed the account and didn't follow up at all and had me running around from A to B and nothing happened. The only thing that happened was my credit score going down because of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. So stuff like that, I decided instead of being angry and disgruntled, I found a financial accountability coach.
Ah,
Yep, and I got my money right.
awesome.
And I got on savings. I got on paying down my debts. I got on making sure I look at where every dollar is going. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, oh, yeah, you could do that, but instead of my taking my mental health in a negative space in regards to the bank, I decided to make it a positive where I can do online banking. If need be, I will go into the bank, but I have to have someone with me.
I think that's great. I think that's a really smart workaround to make sure that your needs are being met. And I
Mhm,
think that's a whole other conversation in and of itself is like
mhm,
sort of financial literacy
mhm,
within our community and like getting proper advice and getting support. Even like how to read a paycheck pay stub and all those things can be really
mhm.
confusing. So working with somebody that you know, is knowledgeable and that you can trust is
Mm.
really great advice on that. I want to kind of wrap it up by like
Mhm.
highlighting you a bit more again and just sort of talking about that experience, going back to that experience where did you read your book for the audience in the bookstore, or were you answering questions about it, or what was, sorry, what was the name of the bookstore again?
A different book list.
A different book list. And
Mhm.
what did you do there?
So they had a book fair that week,
Yeah.
and um I was asked to like from Yolanda to go and talk about my book.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wrote a little 3-minute blurb
Yeah.
and then showed them some pictures. But it was the most important day of my life because like it's again in a black bookstore
Yeah.
with black women who wrote books like me. Like it was like some people there, and there wasn't even like so much people, but there was enough people that made it like so relevant. And even being asked to go take a picture and commemorate that moment was like I forgot about all the things that have happened to me and remembered why I'm doing this work.
So it
Yeah,
was like
so
a type of homecoming.
yes,
It felt like you were amongst family and
yes,
people that understood you and a community that supported you.
yes. And that even if anything like whatever is happening, regardless of what's happening, I'm placing myself for like moving forward little by little
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what's happening and being a part of something that is only going to be getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Our voices are only going to be heard more and more and more as opposed to less and less. So I'm just like thoroughly trying to like write and get all the books out. Like for instance, I'd love to get this book out. It's called Little Marcus,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a little story about Marcus Garvey.
Beautiful.
But
See, I was gonna ask what
yeah,
are
I just made
next
it up.
steps for Miss Natasha. So
Yeah,
that's
I just made it up. It's not like on true facts, but the point is to get people talking about it
mm-hmm.
and about like about his story. And then another book that I'm coming out with is Authentically Me.
Ah,
And that's another children's book that's again just going the notion kicking the notion drilling down the notion of just being authentically you and that's all you can do.
well, Miss
Right?
Natasha, I think that if anyone can write a book on being authentic and exceptional, it is you.
Thank you.
Honestly, you're one of the most interesting, creative, colorful, glam people that we've met and worked with, and it's an honor to kind of call you one of our alumni from our group, and we're so proud of you and your successes, and are really excited to continue to watch what big things are in store for you as you step into your power and as you step into your gifts and own them. And I just got to say, what is the painting behind you is so
Oh yeah. So
beautiful.
it's my
It's an
striped
elephant.
elephant.
Oh, I love it. What does it represent to you?
I'm the striped elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know
so,
that girl.
and so you gotta show up and you gotta show out. Right? You gotta live up to that, that exceptional self, and that's the striped elephant in the room.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for taking time to share your story with us.
you're welcome.